What's up, Giants? Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV. I'm Nick Smith, sitting here tonight with Nicole Castillo and Zach Ricketts, and on occasion we might even see Zool, the cat. So I want to welcome our guest to the show. Nicole, will you introduce who we've got with us?
Yeah, you guys, I am so excited. I've been looking forward to the show for a really long time. We have him here. I have known Mr. Zach Ricketts since I think he was in 8th grade and I was in 9th. So I've known him a really long time. He is just an extraordinary human being. He is someone who I trust to look out for me and my sister if we go out for a night on the town. He's that kind of person. So you guys, I'm so excited to introduce you to Mr. Zach Ricketts.
It's awesome.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
I'm happy to be here. You know, this is going to be fun.
We're going to dig into you, man. So we're going to find out all of Zach's secrets, and we're going to share them right here online, and they're never going away. They're recorded forever.
All right. If anybody hears anything they don't like, sorry.
Yeah. Sorry. There's another video for that somewhere else, but yeah. There's a little bit of an echo there, but I think we're good. But Zach, I'm going to ask you, if you can go back in time, can you take us back in history to what it was like growing up for you?
Oh yeah. I mean, geez. Yeah. I mean, that's where the adventure started, really. Up until about 4 years old, I had the typical childhood. Like family was around and everybody was happy. Between 4 and 5, we moved to California. And that's where things kind of just went sideways. There were a lot of decisions made by the parental units that weren't necessarily the best for really anybody involved. There were a lot of hard times. My mom, bless her heart, I love her dearly, and we're still close. But she like a lot of adults, she made a lot of choices that, she got in trouble for, and because of that, my older brother and I, we were shipped off to Utah, and we stayed with family, bounced around from different aunts and uncles for a long time. And then we got shipped out to Illinois. I was about 8 years old, and my grandmother lived in Illinois at the time, and she was living with her older sister. And her older brother and his wife, I mean, these are people in their 70s. They took us in. I never met my great aunt and uncle until the day I moved into their house. And I mean, here I am. I'm this scared little boy, right? I mean, I spent the last 2 years, basically bouncing around from home to home, trying to find my place, just as a kid, and that was hard. And here I was, this 8-year-old kid, scared to death. I'm moving into this home with these people that I don't know. Here's another opportunity for people that I don't know. Right? And within the first hour, I felt like I was home. My great uncle Ken, he was a very large man, gruff, he's scary. He's a big, scary military guy. Raspy voice, and he looked at me and said, "I'm going out. What do you want?" And the only thing I could think of, at 8 years old, I was like, "I just want some double dip nerds." Like, I will never forget it. So he left, and he went. I don't know if he just went to the store and went on this hunt, or he went out to the bar. Doesn't matter where he went. The fact is, he came home a few hours later. Not just one pack. He had multiple packs of double dip nerds, and he said, "I hope this is what you were looking for." Huh. And it was at that moment that I felt comfortable for the first time in a number of years. And that was the start to kind of my journey into developing who I was. Because living in that house, my uncle was tough on me. And this was tough for me growing up because everybody kind of looked at me as the one who was I was going to make something of myself. I was going to be the successful one in the family. And my uncle stressed that, and he figuratively beat it into me. I would get extra homework assignments. I had to do my homework and then whatever he gave me before I could go play. And I remember he would either have like sentences that I would have to write 500 times before I could do anything, or he would pull articles out of the Reader's Digest and quiz me on them. He'd pull stuff out of the encyclopedia. He'd just throw books at me. And at first I was like, what the hell is this, right? I just want to play. I'm a kid. Stop giving me all this work, right? And then it just became a part of me. I started looking forward to it, because I wasn't challenged at school anymore. So I'd come home, and that's where the real challenge was. And, so we were there for a couple of years while my mom was away. My mom was in prison in California for 3 years. So we were there, and mom got out. She came and got us, took us back to California. And almost overnight, everything that I had worked for, everything that I had developed, I shut off. It's like I got pulled away from home, and loved being with my mom. I wanted that, because I missed her, but there was something missing, and in that, I tried to find a different way, a different way to feed this part of me that I didn't have a home anymore, so I started really trying to be friends with everybody. It didn't work out, because when you're 8, 9, 10 years old, a lot of kids don't want to be friends with everybody, especially the kid that's, I was socially awkward, it's weird. All I wanted to do was like read books, and, I'm in class reading about Greek mythology while other kids are reading comic books, so it was hard for me to make friends as a kid. So I bounced around, and when we were with mom in California, bounced around from school to school. We were always moving. And then mom got in more trouble. Back to Illinois we went, overnight. It was like, here you go, you're on a plane, back to Illinois. Again, immediately back to feeling at home, and I dove right back into the work. Like I remember, the first day we were back for the second trip, I walked in and I said, Uncle Ken, give me something to do. And, and so he did. And he would challenge me. And again, mom got out, she came and got us. We went back to California. And it was the same stuff, and she was running with people she shouldn't have been running with. And, my brothers and I, we kind of paid the price in that, we didn't have a secure home. We kind of fended for ourselves for a long time. And so that continued. Fast forward, she got out. She came and got us from Utah because my aunt had come to California and picked us up. I'm 12 years old. I'm in 6th grade, moved to Utah again. And, when you're preteen and you're socially awkward, all you want to do is learn stuff and try to make friends. I was bullied. I was beat up at school. I was picked on. And then I turned that against other people. I turned into a bully, because I was so lost. I had lost my sense of home. I'd lost all these challenges that were pushing me to be better. And I was lost. So I was angry. 6th grade, I spent every day in school suspension because I would get into fights for no reason other than I was angry. I was angry at my mom. I was angry at the world, and I was angry at kids that just wouldn't accept me for who I was, and that continued, all through junior high. I was picked on, up until I met Nicole, 8th grade, things got a little different. We moved to Murray. Things got a little different for me in that I started to make friends, and I really developed this sense of kindness. And for a long time, I thought it was, I actually started to resent it after a while because I thought that I was trying to buy friendships. And it took me up until probably last year to realize that I wasn't. That was the core of who I was just this, I was just this beacon of kindness, because I just wanted to make people happy. That was it. Like I would come to school, I would be in a bad mood and I would see somebody else in a bad mood and I'd be like, I got to fix that. What can I do to help that person? Right. So that continued. And I started developing friendships. Not a lot outside of school, because I would separate myself. The person that I was at school, and this person who was feeding people, kindness every day, and making these friendships to give me something to look forward to. I'd shut that off at 2:30, because I had to go home. I wasn't happy at home. Mom was into her stuff, and it just wasn't a great environment to be in. Again, no resentment there. Like I love her to death, and I don't fault her for her choices. They were hers. We've made amends. Like life goes on. But I was so afraid of people learning about who I was at my core that I was this chameleon. I would be this different person. This beacon of kindness, because I would feed people and it would feed me, but then I'd shut it off. And I would go home and I'd be depressed. And I would sit at home and I'd just get lost in myself. And I gave up.
I'm curious if like hang on to that where you're going.
Yeah.
But I'm curious how it impacted you emotionally, just growing up, jumping around from house to house, right? Back and forth. Your mom wants you, and then she's off in prison or jail, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you're trying to establish your identity, which, occurs all the way up till the age of 25 for most people.
Yeah.
And it's so unstable that you start fitting in wherever you can. Right.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
so keep going. I mean,
yeah. And so with that, because I really didn't have a sense of who I was, and I was trying to find my place, right? And it was like the only way that I can really find my place is to try to be friends with everybody, right? At one point, like I'm gonna be nice enough to somebody that they accept me, right? Somebody's gonna bring me into the fold, and some did, but I kept people at a distance because of all of the moving around, right? Like I didn't understand stability. So building relationships, and this was part of the reason that I couldn't, when I turned into a teenager and I stayed at the same school for a long time, part of the reason why I didn't have relationships with people is because I didn't know how. I'd been to so many different schools before I hit 8th grade that, I'd have friends for a couple months, so building long-term relationships just wasn't something I knew how to do. I didn't know how to make really good friends. I'm surprised that Nicole and I have stayed in touch for as long as we have, because part of that was, don't ask Nicole what I did after 2:30, because we didn't hang out after school.
No, but Zach was always there if you needed a hug. Zach was always cool as a cucumber. He was always calm in situations. He was like this. You felt like emotional stability, and just like knowing what you're going through now and who you were for me during that time. It's just crazy to know. Like you don't know people's stories. You don't know what people have going on. Like Zach was just always calm, cool as a cucumber. If anybody was getting bullied, like Zach's the first person to be like, like we respect people. So it's just crazy to hear the other side of the story, because I haven't heard this side of the story. Right.
It was interesting because during the time that I was bullying people, right? And up until I was like 13, right? I was bullying people because I was angry. And one day I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like I gotta be nicer to people. Right. And that's kind of the light switch. Right. And so then it was, if I saw people getting bullied, I was like, no, we're not going to do this, and I would step in and I would help people. Like, I've always hated fighting. I would do it if I had to, but it was never, once I hit 13 and I realized that wasn't the right path for me. Like I recognized that then. I was like, this is not going to work. But I had lost a part of myself, and I had, again, to your point, like I was trying to fit in anywhere I could, so I made a lot of bad choices, as we moved into high school, I started making bad choices. I started doing drugs. I was drinking. I was stealing from people. I was doing a lot of goofy shit. That wasn't me. And I remember, there would, people would go, they'd invite me to parties because they knew what I could provide for them. All right, everybody, I'll let you know. I worked at a convenience store. I'm not going to tell you which one. And I found a way to manipulate certain things to where we as teenagers could procure free beer. I digress. But again, it was something that I could provide for people, right? So I started getting invited to these parties. And in doing that, it was like, okay, now I'm building this reputation, right? But I would go to these parties and I remember leaving and I would feel terrible because it wasn't who I was, right? There was this part of me that was yearning for, I want to be at home and reading my books that I don't have anymore, right? I want to be accepted for who I am, not this life, right? I was never into it. I would go to these parties and I would drink to get numb, and I'd be blackout drunk by the time we're done, right? And I would do that to get numb. I would leave and I would feel terrible, and that continued, all through high school, and then after high school, then it was wild parties. It was, something.
You got a voice of an angel. Well,
I
we
may
don't have to
have.
hear you.
I may have, but,
Yeah.
and I love choir. But there was always a part of me that was doing these things to fit in because that's what everybody else was doing, right? And it was a way for me to mask everything that I had going on, right?
I think I want to highlight this because this probably resonates for a lot of people, where you just fit in. You want to be accepted so badly that you'll just do whatever it takes to fit into your culture, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so I think about the book in this of, you're surrounded by smalls. They're making fun of you, but instead of stepping out or not even making fun of you, they're just telling you to fit in, right?
Right. Yeah.
And instead of stepping out on your own path, you decide, I'm going to do whatever it takes to fit in.
Oh yeah.
You just find out, man, this really isn't who I want to be.
Right. And my older brother, I love him. I was trying to get in with his friends, right? Because he hung out with all the cool kids, right?
Yeah.
Like that was the cool crowd. So if I could just fit in with them, I'd be all right. But my brother and I were polar opposites. We are polar opposites. We're just completely different.
Yeah.
He was the good looking athletic one, and I was the bookworm, and so I always looked up to him. I in a lot of ways I envied him because it was easy for him to make friends. It was easy for him to just fit in. Like people just loved him for him, and I never understood how that happened. And it's taken me a very long time to get to that point, and to recognize it, because I went through this, and I look back and it was, I would always say, oh, I had to buy friends. It wasn't that. I was just trying to find my place. I was buying myself, essentially, and so that continued, and all through, again, high school. I graduated high school and I dove right into work, and I'd hang out with friends, we'd drink on the weekends, and I got into weird relationships with people. And then at 21, I found somebody that I fell in love with, and I got married at 21. And we legally married still. I'll always love her, but she was a huge part of my life. I was married for 17 years. I was in a dedicated relationship for 17 years, and part of that relationship was challenging, like everybody has, but part of that too was that I didn't have a sense of who I was, right? Yeah. When I met her, I was looking for something, because I had realized that, going to the bar every night and, and drinking and partying on weekends, it wasn't what I wanted to do. I needed stability, right? So I met her. We hit it off. We had a connection, and I think both of us found something in each other that the other needed, and we held on to that for a long time. But as people do, they grow. And sometimes you grow together, other times you grow apart. But at the core of that, as I think about this, because this is recent. This was just September. At the core of that, it was this lack of identity, and it's carried, I'm 39 now, and I'm just now figuring out who I am.
So I love this because when we highlight giants, they're at different points of their journey. Some of them have accomplished big things and they're ready for bigger levels. Some people are just getting started. And what I love about this is that you're awakening. Your moment where you're like, I've got to figure out what's going on for me is so recent.
Oh yeah.
That the cool thing is people can follow your journey as you grow over the next while here, and it's going to blow their minds what you've created, because you're already creating your way out of that. You've had this awakening, and now it's like, okay, here comes Zach Ricketts.
Right. Yeah. And it's huge, right? And it helps so much because, like I highlighted, when I sent you some stuff and, I sent you my bio, I dealt with a lot of mental health issues. There's insecurity, there was jealousy, there was depression, there's anxiety, still dealing with the anxiety piece, but that's neither here nor there. But,
Actually, I'm not going to let you off the hook on that one.
Okay, go ahead.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the anxiety.
Yeah, let's dive in.
Because that could really serve a lot of people in the tribe. Talk about your anxiety. What is that like for you? And how do you manage it?
So, a lot of it stems from this fear of not fitting in. This fear of not being accepted for who I am.
Yeah.
This almost ingrained idea that people are going to leave. Because of how I grew up. I didn't have connections with people. I didn't have a connection with my mom for a long time, and so it was hard for me to trust that people would stay in my life. So that's where a lot of the anxiety comes from is, what am I going to do today that's going to push people away?
Yeah.
There are so many mornings, and to this day, there are still mornings where I wake up and I'm like, what am I going to do today? That's going to I'm going to piss somebody off. I'm going to get fired, which I've never been fired from a job, but every day I think I'm going to get fired. So if my boss is listening, please don't fire me. Who am I going to push away today? Right. And that's always been a fear. And a lot of that comes from the sense of responsibility, which I've talked to two people about this. So bear with me, because this one's going to get tough.
Yeah, please go into it, man. I think this was certain.
This one's huge. So
okay,
I've talked to my therapist and I've talked to my mom about it.
Yeah.
So I held on to a lot of responsibility for everything that my mom went through because I felt like I introduced her to certain people. Because I remember an interaction when I was 5 years old. I remember an interaction with a couple adults at the apartment complex we lived in, and they asked about my parents, and I was like, "Oh yeah, live over here," and those people became a steady element in our lives when my mom was doing things that she shouldn't have been doing. I won't get into that story because there's a lot there. There's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
But so I held on to that for.
Is it a guilt that you did that you created that introduction?
Oh yeah. I felt guilty because I felt like it was my fault that she got into what she got into.
Yeah. Okay.
And again, I was a kid. I can't make her mind up for her, right? I can't make her decisions, but I held on to that till I was 38 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it took me a long time to finally come to the realization that it wasn't my fault. So a lot of my anxiety came from that, was this guilt. Like I carried guilt with me, and I still do. Like if I mess up, if I upset somebody, a lot of people can get over that in like a day. They're like, oh, they talk about it and they're like, hey, yeah, you pissed me off, and here's how we get through it.
Right.
I have those conversations, but then 3 days later, I'm like, and I'm beating myself up for something that I said that didn't wreck anything. It just made somebody a little sad, So there's a lot of that. So that's a lot of where my anxiety comes from, is wanting to make sure that nobody gets upset enough to leave, and So that's a lot of it. But in being on my own for the first time, like I mean, I've said this. I mean, up until September, I had never been alone. You know, I'd never truly been by myself. You know, a lot of people, they turn 18, they move out, they get an apartment with their friends, they live by themselves, you know, whatever. I went from home to a girlfriend's parents' basement to a house with some friends for a short period of time, right into marriage. Right? So I didn't have that period of growth within myself. Right. So, I mean, I've spent the last several months living on my own. There's me, a cat, and a turtle, you know, and there's a lot of growth in there, you know, and there's a lot of healing in understanding that I don't control everybody. You know, everybody isn't dependent on me. You know, the only person that truly depends on me is me, you know, and I'm the only person I'm responsible for at this point. So that helps in healing a lot of my anxiety, because I don't have a lot of people to upset now, because I mean, the cat's going to get mad, but he's just going to scratch the shit out of me. You know? But that's it. So that's been huge, you know, over the last several months, and a lot of credit to this tribe, you know, because when I met you, Nick, I met you a little over a year ago.
Yeah.
You know, after I ran into Ryan. I mean, we reconnected at our high school reunion, and in talking to Ryan then, I realized that I actually had a bigger impact on the people that I didn't really know very well than I thought I did. You know, so I met you through Ryan. We sat down. We had a heart-to-heart conversation. You know, you made me realize that there were a lot of things that I was putting off. There were a lot of things that I was masking. There were a lot of things that I refused to admit, you know, and it was in that moment that I started to grow. I started to wake up, you know, and with a combination of, you know, our conversations with my therapist and getting back into reading, I've re-enlightened, you know, and I've reinvigorated this desire to just.
I love this.
Be a better person.
Yeah,
you know?
I've got to just highlight it, because, you know, a year and a half ago, I was going through my divorce and going through dark times and coming out of that, and really just sharing my journey. And that journey is where I met the beginnings of the tribe and the league, and got the book published and everything. And it was during that awakening, and I'm still waking up. Like, it's still there. Yeah. And what's so refreshing about where you're at is that people get a chance to watch somebody shift from an old life to a new one. Like, there's no going back for Zach Ricketts. There's no more pea soup and crackers, in a sense. Yeah. There's no putting him back in the popcorn shell because he's popped.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. You know, and so it's been quite a journey, you know, and that's where, you know, again, I mean, everybody that's watching here, you guys have seen at least one of my morning videos where I'm just rambling.
I love those, by the way. I love your morning videos. They're like the wake up, good morning, beautiful text message that you get in the morning. Like, I roll over and look at Zach's video of like telling me that I'm like to have an amazing day and to take care of myself. I look forward to them.
Eat some food, drink some water.
That's it. You know, small reminders, you know, and again, that started as something for myself, you know, just a small something for myself, and seeing how it helped me and started to help other people, you know, that in itself is feeding that person that I was and wanted to be so many years ago, you know, and I had lost it. I gave that up in an effort to fit in. Right. Where I was so afraid of being accepted for me because I didn't know that I could. Right. And now it's like, all right, screw it. I'm going to throw this video out. If you like it, cool. If you don't, okay, we'll try again tomorrow. You know?
Well, even at that. So let me catch you right there, because, you know, we'll try again tomorrow. It's cool. I mean, if you don't like my video, you don't like my video. It's got to be okay in a way. It's like I still felt a little bit of the old energy in that. Like, we'll try again tomorrow. If you don't like me today, we'll try again tomorrow.
Right.
And it's, and I'm not calling you out too harshly here, but you're building the life that you have in your mind. And what people need to hear is your old life is still going to show up. Your old behaviors are still going to show up inside of that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And they will. And, I'll always battle the anxiety. I will always, I'll always battle with depression. I have good days. I have bad days, but if I can start my day with a good day and bring somebody with me.
Oh, I like that.
Then I feed off of that energy, right? If I get one comment saying, I needed to see this today, I don't have a bad day, because I'm like, I did good today, and luckily I haven't had any of the bad comments, people telling me, shut up, because God knows how I'm going to react to that. But,
it's a learning opportunity. In our conversation this morning, we talked about where the upset begins is where your schooling begins. Right. So when you recognize the upset, that's your chance to learn.
Oh yeah. And speaking of that, I mean, there was a lot of it, we'll kind of rewind a little bit. 2016, I had an opportunity to live out my dream. I had this idea in my head. It's like, one of these days I'm going to move to Hawaii. I'm going to live there and I'm going to live in paradise. I'm going to have my toes in the sand. I'm going to fish. I'm going to be on the beach. I don't care. That's what I'm going to do. I had that opportunity. I was given that opportunity. 2016, I took a job that was supposed to be my dream job. Turned out to be a nightmare. The worst decision I have ever made in my entire life was taking that job. But it was also the best decision I ever made because it broke me down to a point that I needed to be humbled. I met Ash Hebron. Thanks, Ash. I miss you. I met Ash through chance, because I had left that job. I had more jobs in the 2 years that I was in Hawaii than I did the 12 years I was in Washington prior to moving. And because I had to find something. So I left that job because it was literally killing me. My health was getting destroyed. I was stressed out. My marriage was getting destroyed because of that job. So I took another job. I ended up working with Ash. We worked together at T-Mobile. Loved the job, but it was a lot of work. There were a lot of hours put in because I lived in Hawaii, and I went from making a whole bunch of money at the job that I thought was my dream job to making not a lot of money. So I had to supplement it. I had to work. I was working 16-hour days. Ash, you can attest to that. But it was important. It was an important part of the journey, right? Because it humbled me. And I was lucky enough to be contacted by my previous employer before I left. I was able to get back to Expedia. They helped me get back to Washington to where I can restart, and I've rebuilt reputations there. I've rebuilt relationships there. And, I feel good about that, so not every break is necessarily a bad thing. I mean, I've never broken down, but I've rebuilt, and so it's been one hell of a journey. I'll tell you that. So there, and I think a lot of that, being humbled really catapulted where I'm at today. It catapulted me to where I am today because I knew that I had to find a better way to be who I was than what I had been doing before, right? Where before it was like, I was, let's take my job, for example. I know the job. I know the job well. Previously, in 2016, I knew, and I'm in the same job, I'm in the same role, I'm in, same company. I still know the job, but I ask a lot more questions now than I did before. Where before I answered a lot of questions. Wasn't always right, but I made you think I was because I was so afraid of being wrong. I'm okay with that now, because it's an opportunity to learn. And these are things that I'm learning, in watching other people grow, and again, being a part of this tribe has fueled that, because I get on here and I see the stories that, I watch the interviews that you guys do with, all these amazing people that I look up to, and I pull from that, because it's motivational, because I know that we're all growing, and everybody in this tribe, to your point, we're all on a different journey, or at different points in our journey, but we've all got this same idea, right? That we are meant for something bigger.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're going to get there, and we're going to get there together. And that's where, again, that's where I'm fueled, because whether it's members of the tribe or, people that I've met on Twitter, people at work, I want to take people along with me, right? It's like, we can grow together. Like I'll help you plant the seeds. I'll help you water your plant, but I'm also going to water mine, and we're just going to keep growing. And, and having that perspective now versus prior to now, it's refreshing, to know that everything that I've gone through, everything that I've seen, and again, we can talk offline about some of the stuff that I've seen growing up, but the things that I've experienced I had two choices growing up. I could either follow this path that was laid out for me, this path of self-destruction, this path of a lot of bad choices, or I could turn around, and I could try something different. And that's where I'm at now, and it took me a long time to get to here. I kept trying, and I would get knocked off that path because I didn't think I was worthy of going down that path, so I'd start on this path of growth, and then I would get to a point where if I just take one more step, I could have everything that I wanted. If I just open this next door, everything changes. But I would stop, and I would self-sabotage, and I would tell myself, you don't deserve it. You don't. This isn't who you are. You're not meant for these great things. This is what I would tell myself. I would turn down jobs. I would turn down opportunities because I was afraid of what would happen if I actually went through that door. It wasn't that I didn't think I deserved it. I was afraid of what I was going to find. Was I actually going to find this happiness that I've been looking for? Maybe. And it scared the hell out of me.
I think this speaks to people who are on the journey. They haven't quite awakened yet. They're questioning. They're in that space where they've seen that there's something bigger possible for them, but they haven't had that full awakening where they've stepped out onto the path to really see who they are.
Right.
And you mentioned I opened that door and I'd shut it. I'd open that door and I'd shut it. I'd step out on the path and I'd step right back. I could picture this person, you in that case, like at a local swimming pool, like I want to get in, I don't want to get in, or, it's so applicable. So I would ask you, what was it in that had you wake up? What was your wake up call that really pivoted you?
So what really did it was, again, it was, partially the conversation I had with you when you and I first met.
Yeah.
Where, let's face it, you called me on a lot of my stuff. Here I had been talking to you for 10 minutes and you started to call me out on things that people never did. So that was part of it, which I took to therapy. I talked to my therapist a few days later. I was like, so here's a conversation that I had. And, it was through therapy, and realizing that a lot of the things that I've missed out on, a lot of the things that I pulled myself away from, nobody said I couldn't have them. So it was realizing that I truly was meant for more. I think back to the conversation that I had with my great uncle the day I registered for 5th grade. I'll never forget it. We're sitting in the principal's office and I'm talking to my principal and I'm telling him, this is what I'd like to do. And we're leaving the school and my uncle looked at me and he said, you're going to have everything you've ever wanted. He said, you have everybody at this school eating out of the palm of your hand and you're 10 years old. He said, you'll have everything you've ever wanted. And it was remembering that statement after we talked and then talking to my therapist that reminded me that I can literally have anything that I want. So what the hell's stopping me except for me? There's nobody in my way. There's nobody holding a gun to my head saying, if you make this move, you're going to lose it. You know, I let go of a lot of my own fear. You know, I was so afraid to become the person that I knew I needed to be because I was afraid of what it meant. And what it meant was actually becoming happy, you know, and finding happiness that I've been looking for since I was a kid, you know. So here I am, almost 40. Who knows what's coming? You know, all I know is I'm on this new journey, and you know, I've made a lot of mistakes, and I'll continue to make mistakes, but I accept those, you know, and I don't beat myself up as much as I used to, you know, when I make mistakes. And I think that in itself is really that's the best part of this journey, you know, is learning that I'll be okay through all of my mistakes. I mean, nothing's earth shattering, you know. I'm okay. I'm allowed to make mistakes. You know, there's nothing that I can break that I can't put back together at this point, you know.
I usually give myself like 10 mistakes a day, you know? Nicole's allowed to have at least 10 mistakes a day.
10? Oh, I give myself like 2. if I go,
okay, there's my 2 or there's my 3, you know?
Right.
If I plan for 10, then
yeah, I get like 2. Anything more than that, and I'm like, what'd you do? You know? And then
it reminds me of Alice in Wonderland. You know, I try and do 10 impossible things before breakfast.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, just get your mistakes in early and you're good for the day.
Right.
Just go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I mean, and that's just it. Like,
yeah,
you know, and I think back to all the people that I've met, all the leaders that, you know, that I've been influenced by, you know, and the things that they used to tell me that I would listen to and they would resonate and I would dismiss them, you know, because I didn't feel deserving of the things that people were telling me, you know. People were saying, you can have everything you wanted. And I was like, no, I can't. I can have some of it. I can have a few of these things, but I'm going to throw the rest of it away because I don't think I need it or I don't think I deserve it, you know. And so that was always huge, you know, and it created a lot of issues for me. You know, it broke relationships. I mean, you know, it kept me from really making strong connections with people, you know, and I think that's, to my fault. That's, you know, that's part of the reason why I'm now, I find myself in a separation, you know, because there were a lot of things that I told myself I didn't deserve and I would push them away. So here we are, you know, and so, you know, where the journey takes me from here is, it's still open.
Yeah. Let's talk about that because, historically people teach when you have a goal, you need to have a clear goal of where you're going.
Right.
You have a clear path. And if you don't, you're going to fail. It's got to be a SMART goal. It's got to be all this stuff. Right.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And what I'm hearing in this is you don't have a clear path. And yeah. And it's beautiful.
You know?
Really, we couldn't have imagined that the league would be here, that the tribe would be here when we started. It wasn't even on our mind. So if we would have set our goal and been so rigid in our goal that it would have gone our way and no other way, we wouldn't have seen these as possibilities and we wouldn't be having this interview right now. It wouldn't even be happening.
No. I mean, you know, we would have had, you know, maybe a conversation on Facebook Messenger here and there.
Maybe. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Amanda, it's funny that you say that because back in September, actually, I got a tattoo of a statement that I've been telling myself for a couple of years. I am worthy. It's on my arm. I look down at it every day. You know, it is a constant reminder, you know, that I am worthy of, you know, the great things that the world has to offer, you know, that just like everybody else, you know, every single one of us, you know, be it members of the tribe or people who are not part of this tribe, you know, every single one of us is worthy of the things that we want. And it's a matter of letting go of your fears and your need to please people, right?
That's
We're
right there.
going to upset people on our journey.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to shake things up. People are not going to be necessarily happy with some of our choices. And that's the biggest part, is we have to remember that we're not living for those people. What we do is for us. We can serve other people. We can help other people. We can show kindness, and we can be good for everybody. But at the end of the day, if we're not good to ourselves and give ourselves the things that we truly desire, we're selling ourselves short. If I help somebody else achieve their dream and I watch that and I sit on the sidelines and I think to myself, yeah, I missed an opportunity. Am I really helping that person? Or am I just enabling a sense of envy within myself? If I just give and give and give and do so without my own growth, right? It's like I've said before, you know, I will help you water your plant. But if I have an empty water can at the end of the day, I've got nothing left for me. And I think that is one thing that we all need to remember. It's like, you know, be good to people, you know, show kindness, and, you know, help people along the way. But for the love of God, you've got to help yourself, you know, because if you don't, you can't help many people for too long, you know, and you start to grow resentful, and, you know, you start to pull away from, you know, these relationships, and you can find yourself in a dark place because you're by yourself, you know, because you've pushed all of these people away because you say, I can't help you anymore. And it's not that you can't help them anymore. It's you don't have enough fuel for yourself to keep going. So I try to remember that, you know, because there have been times where I've been self-sacrificing, you know, and I've done for other people and forgotten myself, you know, and more times than I care to admit. But I don't do that anymore, you know.
Nicole, what thoughts are you having about this? I know your brain's just going like.
Yeah, no, it's been going. There's so much that's come up for me.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just rambling.
No, I love it. I love it because it's like Nicole's brain. Well, it's like you give a B version of yourself. So when you're not being when you're not taking care of yourself and you're being that self-serving, or you're giving of everything of yourself and you're sacrificing so much of yourself. I'm the same way. And it's like you give people in your life the B version of yourself.
Oh, yeah.
So when you take the time to fill your own cup and water your own garden, your family is getting a version of yourself. I look at it with my kids, you know, and if I'm so spread thin and giving everything, my kids are getting the B version of Nicole.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so what I love about Zach is that Zach's making these videos for himself every morning, telling people to take care of themselves, but he's also making those videos were created for Zach, for Zach. And then those are also serving other people. I love you too, girl. And then some other things that came up for me is, oh my gosh, I'm going to forget. Sometimes the good things that could happen are just as scary as the bad things that could happen, right?
Definitely.
So Zach's ready to open the door, and it's like sometimes the good stuff scares the shit out of us, right? And we're like, not all the bad things that could happen; it's all the good things that could happen.
You know, and when you're not used to it, right? When you're so used to the bad things, right? Which I was, you know, I was always used to, you know. We'd start on a good path and then here we go, you know, something would get taken away, you know, so you start on that. And so it's hard to accept those good things. You know, it's kind of like those people that, you know, they say, oh, I'm hard to love, right? It's because they don't know how to accept it. Right. And, you know, I mean, to your point, Nicole, you know, I've watched you, you know,
we're so much alike, Zach. It's so funny when we talk to each other. We're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to.
You know, I mean, even you think back to, you know, when the last time you and I actually hung out, which was on your birthday 1.5 million years ago. The
I just turned
Well,
31. Thanks, Zach.
I know. Well, I mean, you were 21 then, and so it's fine. But you know, I look back at that, Nicole, and where you were there and where you are now. You're a completely different person, you know, in that you have grown because you've understood that, you know, because you were giving a lot of yourself to your family and, you know, friends. And you and I talked about that then, you know, and I mean, we were both lost then. You know, you happen to find your way a lot quicker than I did. So, you know, thank you for
kids that
right,
kids do that. You have to figure your shit out really quick when you
right.
have
Yeah. But, you know, but it's a testament to that self-care, right? Because you took it upon yourself to really start feeding a part of you that hadn't been fed in a long time. And I'm doing that now, you know, and I'm watching other people do that, you know, and it's exciting, you know, because again, I don't know where my path is going to go. I don't have a clear goal. Somebody asked me the other day, they said, "Are you going to stay in Seattle?" I said, "I don't know. For all I know, I could end up in Australia."
Alyssa, that's where Alyssa is. If we're
Right.
going to Australia, Nick and I might have to.
Yeah.
So,
There's,
you know,
there's a quote that comes up as you're saying this. When things are uncertain, everything is possible.
right.
And so the beauty of where you're at right now is that you're chasing what feels right. I think we talked about Todd Clyde's getting brought up a lot because of his nail that he created. You know, he pounded it and he found the flow of it.
Yeah.
And you're finding the flow of your life right now. So you've had this awakening and you've had this vision of what's possible for you.
Yeah.
And now you're trying to determine what it is that you're going to create for your life.
Yeah.
And man, so many people are on that path right there. Like at 59, we have one of our giants who's writing her first book.
Right.
You know, so here you are at 39. You're like, I'm just getting started.
Right.
She's at 59, just getting started.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't matter when.
Yeah. And that's, you know, and that's just it. It's like everybody gets caught up in this timeline. And I said this in one of my videos the other day. You know, we all get caught up in this need to be, you know, on this timeline, right? I got to have all of these things accomplished by this age. I got to do this. I got to do this. If I were to set out and do that, you know, if I had this timeline set when I was 18,
Yep.
it would have been thrown out a long time ago because I haven't touched any of it, you know,
Right.
like the one thing that I did accomplish, I got married, you know, and cool, you know, and, you know, again, I it happened, you know, and, you know, no fault to anybody, you know, it's part of life, but, it's all part of that, right? We can't have a rigid timeline. We have to be able to understand that our journey may start, it may change at any moment, right? And, you know, be it 39 or 59 or 69, you know, I mean, it's, who knows where the road will lead. And, you know, I mean, we're on this journey. You can turn left, you know, you take a left-hand turn and you might end up in paradise.
Yeah.
You know, who knows? Yeah. So, and that in itself has been it's been helpful, you know, for me in that I've let go of this need to be in complete control of everything that I'm doing.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
We're already 54 minutes in, if you can believe that. It's unreal.
Yeah.
You know, if you were to share a piece of wisdom for somebody that you've learned along the way here, what would that be?
Don't be afraid. You know, do not be afraid to go for the things that you want. You know, it's going to be scary, but until you jump, you don't know where you're going to land, you know? So go and get that, you know, if it means changing who you are, if it means giving up things that have been holding you back, understand that they have been holding you back. It's not a bad thing. You know, sometimes you just got to let go of your anchor if you want to sail, you know? So, you know, just go, you know, just don't be afraid to go. I think that's the biggest piece of advice I can give anybody is, you know, that's it. Don't be afraid.
It reminds me of the story of the warden who has the prisoners that come in, you know, and he says, like, you can either be executed or you can walk through the door, right? They always choose the execution because they don't know what's on the other side of that door. And it's the unexpected, that the unknown is so terrifying. And so I am so inspired by you for choosing the door, to walk through the door instead of choosing what you've always known. I just think that is so beautiful, to push through the fear and choose the door. It's really beautiful to watch, Zach.
It's been tough. I'm not gonna lie. Like it's every day it's hard, because there is a part of me still that wants to cling to the things that I knew. Right. There's a part of me that wants to go, find, that old comfort zone, but I can't. If I do it now, I might as well just give up. So,
there's no putting Zach back. I mean, there's no putting you back in the old life. It's just not going to happen.
No, there's just no way. And I remind myself of that. It's like this is the path that I've now set out. Right? Yeah. I'm on this path. I'm walking this one. I can't turn around. I can turn left. I can turn right, or I can keep going. But I cannot turn around. If I turn around, I should have never started on the journey to begin with.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that's a little bit of me. Kids.
This took a turn I didn't expect. I was it's really like you've covered so well in the book. You've covered so well the first part of the journey where he has the awakening and he tells the smalls about his dreams and they belittle him and he's got a decision to make. Do I stay small? Do I go ask the giants? He goes out into the unknown. He has no idea how it's going to go. He gets shown a vision of what's possible for him. He goes home. He outgrows his home.
Yeah.
He goes back to the land of the giants and he's like, I'm neither a small or a giant.
Yeah.
And Remy stops him. He says, well, what do you want to do? And he says, I guess I'll keep moving forward. Yeah. Right. That's where you are in your journey, is right there.
Yeah.
In that space of I'm moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's just it, and that's, I've read the book. Oh geez, I don't know how many times at this point, I got it when it, you first printed them. I've had it for months. Yeah. I've read it countless times, so I think I might have it memorized. But
I love hearing that. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a wonderful story. And, talk to people about it. It's good for everybody, right? Of all ages. I mean, you can read it to your kids, or you can be, a 39-year-old single male with a turtle and a cat and sit at home and read it on a Friday night. Like,
there's still hope, guys. Yeah,
still hope.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a wonderful story, just the story itself, but the message within, right? And it resonated with me, and to that point that I am on that part of the journey, right? Where it's like I can't go back to being a small.
Yeah,
I'm not quite a giant. I got a little bigger. I outgrew my bed.
Right. You look like the picture. He looks like he had the worst night ever. He's drunk.
Right.
He's got a hangover and it's not good.
Exactly. So, so that's where I am. And, I'm grateful for this opportunity. I mean, when you guys said, hey, we want to talk to you, first thought was why?
You've always been a giant to me, Zach. Always. I've always seen you since junior high, and I'm going to get emotional. You've always been that giant for me. You're that safe space that I know that I'm safe if I'm with Zach. Like
always.
Feelings, if I'm out with my sister and we're, at the club at my birthday, I know that Zach's going to make sure that me and my sister get home safe. You've always been a giant to me. You've always been inspiring to me. I just have always seen you as a giant. I was so excited to be able to be a part of this, and I'm so grateful. So thank you.
That means so much, Nicole. Thank you so much. And, I mean, it's a wonderful journey, and I'm glad you guys are now a part of it. So thank you.
What's incredible to me is that it's always in there.
Yeah.
And every one of us already has that within us to do what you're doing right now. Absolutely. And so it is inspiring. It's not like you went out and created something and made it a part of you. You didn't take some external material and make it Zach.
No.
Like, this was Zach already.
Yeah. It was just a matter of, finding the right path. So here we are. You know,
here we are, and I can't wait to see what else comes. Yeah,
we'll see where we go. So
yeah, we appreciate you being on the show.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
I want to appreciate Zach for talking about mental health and that you see a therapist and that you share that. I think that's really beautiful. So I just wanted to acknowledge you for that and recognize you for that. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, and to anybody, anybody questioning that, it's honestly the best gift I've ever given myself, because, you know, it's somebody to talk to. You know, you get this non-biased opinion, and, you know, you can reflect and really dig in, you know, and I'm lucky to have the therapist that I do. She's amazing. I'm going to be sad when she goes out on maternity leave, but I will continue to do the work. But, you know, so yeah, I mean, it's important. It's important to me, and it's important to anybody that I care about. You know, find somebody. You know, it's huge.
Yeah,
because we may be on these journeys and we might have to walk them by ourselves, but everybody needs a little help from time to time. You know?
Yeah, that's the way to end it right there. Everybody needs a little help from time to time. And man, you're doing it. You're in there supporting people. And so you are making a difference. So thank you.
I hope so. Thank you.
Very much in our tribe. You make a huge difference in our tribe. Thank you for being there to support our community in a positive way. And
it is an honor and a privilege to be a part of it. And, you know, I'm grateful to have been connected with such amazing people. And, you know, I'm excited to see where this tribe goes. Let's get to 2 million.
We are going to do that. Diana, who's on right now, Diana Strong, is a therapist. She's a licensed social worker, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But this is a person that is licensed to help people. Yeah. So in the tribe, growing with us, you know, just a beautiful person.
Absolutely.
I hope you're blushing. Yeah. No. Well, good. I'm going to share a few more of these.
Ryan Morris. I was just saying the giant himself, Ryan Morris.
Yeah,
Ryan, you are an incredible human, my brother, and I love you, Ryan. I love you, Nicole. Nick, I love you, brother.
Love you too, man.
You know, I mean, you guys have done so much for me over the last year, and everybody who's chimed in, Raquel, Ash, everybody, you know, everybody's been a part of my journey in one way or another, and I'm humbled yet again. So here we are.
So proud of you, man. Good job. Keep going.
Absolutely.
Keep stepping. And then for those that are watching, do the same. You know, make it a giant day. Make it a giant choice to do something you've never done. Open that door and step on through.
Yeah. And you know, just one more thing. I know we're over, but you know, anybody who's saying this, I mean, obviously you guys know where to find me. If you guys need anything at all, you need an ear, you need somebody to kick you in the pants, I got you.
I got you.
I need to go to bed so I can wake up to my video in the morning.
Yeah, that works.
I'll be there.
Okay. Well, guys, thanks for being on. We appreciate you. Make it a giant evening, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Absolutely. Good night, guys.
You guys.